Alien students went silent after studying Earth's combat history. Lana Brooks walked into the large classroom of the Galactic Academy. The room was wide and filled with students from many different planets. Some had tall, thin bodies with silver skin, others had thick shells or wings. All of them looked at her with curiosity. Today, she would teach a class that few aliens expected to care about. It was human history. Most of the cadets thought it would be boring. After all, humans were a small species on a small planet. How could they matter in the galaxy? "Good morning, everyone," Lana said softly. Her voice was calm but had a clear authority. "Today we will start studying Earth's combat history. This is an optional module, so only those interested need to stay." At first, many students murmured among themselves. Some laughed quietly. A few, like Kelra, a cautious alien with green eyes and soft scales, and Vorin, a taller alien with rough skin and long fingers, decided to stay. Kelra wanted to understand humans. Vorin wanted to show he could ignore anything that seemed weak. The room quickly emptied until only a small group remained. Lana smiled quietly. She was used to this reaction. Humans were underestimated by most alien species, but they had a reputation for being unpredictable. Unpredictable could mean dangerous. "Humans have fought for their survival since the beginning," Lana said. She moved to the front of the room and activated a large hologram. It showed a small blue and green planet spinning slowly in space. Their wars were never simple. They did not have advanced technology for much of their history. They fought with their hands, with simple tools, with strategy and courage. And even when they were outnumbered, they never gave up. Kelra tilted her head. "Why do you care about them? They seem weak," she asked. Lana looked at Kelra with calm eyes. "Weak is what everyone assumes, but strength is not only measured in size or power. Humans survive when all odds are against them. That is the point of today's lesson." The first lesson began with humans long before the Galactic Age. Lana showed images of soldiers with simple weapons, shields, and armor made of leather. The alien students whispered to each other. Some laughed quietly, thinking this was useless, but Kelra stared carefully at the images. She noticed the determination in the humans' eyes. The soldiers were tired, dirty, and scared, but they did not stop moving forward. "They fought not because they wanted glory," Lana continued. "They fought because if they did not, they would die. Survival was the only goal." The next part of the lesson showed humans during a larger war. There were hundreds of thousands of soldiers fighting for land, for families, for survival. Lana paused the hologram on a single soldier. His name was Alex Carter. He was young, barely 18, but he was holding back a wave of enemies while others retreated. His hands were bleeding, his uniform torn, but he did not move. Vorin snorted. "Why are we looking at weak humans? They will die anyway," he said. Lana did not reply. She simply moved to the next record. It showed human tactics. Humans were using clever traps, hiding in the terrain and surprising the enemy. They did not have advanced weapons, but they used what they had wisely. Kelra leaned forward. She could see that humans thought differently. They were small and weak, but their minds were sharp. "You see," Lana said, "humans are adaptable. They can change their plans in seconds. When they are tired or injured, they still find ways to fight. That is why they survived long after many other species would have been gone." The aliens were starting to feel something they did not expect. At first, they had believed humans were easy to beat. Now, they were confused. Why would a species so small and fragile fight with so much courage? Kelra's tail twitched as she watched the hologram. She had never felt respect for another species like this before. Lana continued with examples of human history over centuries. Wars, rebellions, and battles were shown. She spoke of Lucas Gray, a soldier who led a group of civilians through enemy territory, risking his life to protect them. She showed Emma Stone, a medic who ran into the battlefield to save others while bullets and shrapnel flew past. Notice how they do not fight for personal gain, Lana said. They fight for something bigger than themselves, for family, for friends, for those who cannot fight. They keep going even when everything seems lost. Voron's face changed. He had expected to feel superior, to laugh at these small, fragile creatures. Instead, he felt something strange, a quiet unease. He looked around at other alien students, but they were either asleep or left. Only Kelra and a few others were watching. The lesson moved to strategy. Humans often had fewer numbers, weaker technology, and less training than their enemies. Yet they used clever tricks. They ambushed larger forces, used the land to hide, and sometimes sacrificed themselves to give others a chance to survive. Kelra could not believe it. She had studied hundreds of species at the academy, but she had never seen a species that survived against all odds for so long. Lana paused the hologram. The room was silent. Even Voron, who had laughed at first, could not speak. The aliens did not understand why humans fought like this. It was not for power, not for glory. It was for survival. It was stubbornness, courage, and cleverness all together. Humans are not perfect, Lana said softly. They make mistakes. They die. They lose battles. But they do not give up. They adapt. They survive. That is what you must understand today. If you ever face a human, do not underestimate them. They will surprise you. Kelra raised a hand. Have they ever faced aliens? She asked. Lana nodded. Yes. When humans first met other species, they were weaker in every way. Smaller, slower, less advanced. But they still fought. They still survived. Some humans even managed to outsmart entire fleets with clever tactics. Voron scowled. He felt anger, but it was mixed with fear. Humans were supposed to be weak. Yet he could see now they were not. They were unpredictable, dangerous in a way that no alien could fully understand. Lana smiled at the reactions. She had expected silence, shock, and even denial. She had seen it many times before. Aliens did not know how to react to the courage and cleverness of humans. Kelra sat still, absorbing every word. She felt respect growing in her chest. She wanted to learn more. The class ended, but no one moved immediately. The aliens were silent, thinking. They did not know what to say. The hologram faded, leaving only the empty classroom. Lana looked around. She could feel the change in the students. Even those who laughed at first now looked serious. Even Voron was quiet, his pride shaken. For next class, Lana said, we will study the human wars of the modern era. You will see battles with larger forces, more technology, and even greater danger. Remember, humans survive when no one else can. Watch closely. As the students left, Kelra stayed behind. She walked to Lana. I want to learn everything, she said. Her voice was soft but determined. I want to understand how humans fight. Lana nodded. Good. Pay attention. Humans are not always strong in body, but they are strong in ways that matter. Their courage and cleverness are lessons for all species. Voron lingered at the door. He did not speak, but his mind raced. He could not understand how humans, a small species, could survive against so much. He felt a new respect, and also a small fear he had never felt before. He would think about it for a long time. The academy corridor was quiet. Alien students from other classes passed by, unaware of the lesson. They laughed, they played, they studied. But inside the classroom, a few aliens had already begun to see humans differently. They had begun to understand that size and power were not everything. Cleverness, courage, and persistence mattered more. Kelra walked out slowly, thinking about Alex Carter, Lucas Gray, and Emma Stone. She wondered how humans could keep fighting when everything seemed lost. She wanted to see more. She wanted to understand. She wanted to know what made humans survive. Lana watched her leave. She knew the lesson had begun, but this was only part one. The true test would come when the aliens faced humans, or when they studied the battles of the modern era. That was when their silence and shock would grow deeper. As the sun set over the academy, the stars began to shine in the sky. Far away on the small blue planet called Earth, humans continued to live, unaware of the small group of aliens who were just beginning to understand their courage. Kel returned back once, looking at the classroom. She felt something she had never felt before: respect, awe, and a little fear. She walked down the corridor, her mind racing with questions. She wanted to know everything about humans. She wanted to see if they were truly as unstoppable as Lana said, and deep inside she felt a small spark of excitement. Maybe, just maybe, humans were worth studying. Maybe they were worth respecting. The first lesson was over, but for Kelra and a few others, it had only just begun. The next day, Kelra arrived early at the classroom. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of the lights. She looked around and saw Vorin waiting too, though he did not meet her eyes. A few other aliens had returned, curious but cautious. Lana Brooks entered, carrying a stack of records and holoscreens. She smiled gently at the students. "Welcome back," she said. "Today we will continue our study of human combat history. Last time, we saw how humans fought even when outnumbered. Today, we will see how they survived in more modern battles against enemies stronger than themselves." The hologram activated, showing a human battlefield from 100 years ago. Soldiers ran across open fields, dodging explosions and gunfire. Kelra could hear the clatter of metal and the shouts of humans in the recording. Some soldiers were falling, but others kept moving forward. Their faces were tired and scared, yet determined. Lana pointed to a small group of humans hiding behind a ruined wall. "Look at them," she said. "They are outnumbered and their weapons are weak. Yet they are using the terrain to survive. Notice their focus. Notice how they work together." Kelra leaned forward. She could see every small action. One human tossed a smoke grenade to cover another who was wounded. Another signaled silently for the group to move. The humans were clever, using what they had to stay alive. Vorin snorted quietly. "Still weak," he muttered. "They will die anyway." Lana did not respond. She continued showing different battles. She pointed out soldiers like Claire Mason, a medic who ran through enemy fire to save others, and Noah Hill, who led a small group to hold a bridge against a larger force. Each story showed humans making impossible choices to survive and help others. "Humans do not fight for personal glory," Lana said. "They fight for survival, for those who cannot fight, and for their values. They adapt quickly. They learn from every mistake. This is why they are difficult to defeat." Kelra felt her chest tighten. She had studied many species, but she had never seen this combination of courage, cleverness, and persistence. The humans were not the strongest physically, but they were dangerous because they never gave up. The lesson moved forward to more recent conflicts. Humans now had advanced weapons, but their enemies were also stronger. They fought against armored machines, fast vehicles, and large numbers of soldiers. Still, humans found ways to survive. They used traps, deception, and clever tactics. Sometimes they fought behind walls, in tunnels, or in forests to hide from superior firepower. Lana paused the recording on a human soldier named Emily Reed. She was small, with simple armor, but she had outsmarted a larger enemy squad. She had led them into a trap, using noise and shadows to confuse them. Kelra's tail twitched as she watched. This was not brute strength. This was thinking and courage combined. "You see," Lana said, "humans are unpredictable. They do not follow patterns that make sense to other species. They think differently, and when you face a human, you must expect the unexpected." Vorin shifted uncomfortably. He had expected humans to be simple, weak, and easy to ignore. Now he felt a quiet fear. He did not want to admit it, but these small creatures could be deadly. Lana continued. She showed how humans survived even when cut off from support. They scavenged, repaired weapons, and made shelters. They cared for each other and worked as a team. Kelra noticed that every human story had one common thread: teamwork and courage. No one survived alone. Humans protected each other, even when they knew they might die. Their courage is not reckless, Lana said. It is measured but stubborn. They survive by refusing to give up, even when defeat seems certain. That is why other species often underestimate them, and that is why humans can survive where others fail. The aliens were silent. They could not understand fully, but they could see the pattern. The humans were small, weak in appearance, and vulnerable. Yet they survived battles that should have destroyed them. They adapted, they helped each other, and they refused to quit. Lana then showed a recorded communication from a human general. His name was Daniel West. He spoke to his troops after a lost battle. His words were simple but firm. "We may be smaller, weaker, and wounded, but we will not stop. We will survive. We will fight again tomorrow." Kelra's eyes widened. She felt something strange: respect, awe, and a small fear. She realized that humans were not to be taken lightly. They were not the strongest species, but they were dangerous to underestimate. Vorin tried to hide his unease. He crossed his arms and looked away. But even he could not ignore the images of humans working together, surviving impossible situations, and refusing to surrender. Lana continued, showing stories of humans protecting civilians during wars. They would run into dangerous areas to save children or the elderly. They would risk their lives to carry the wounded to safety. Kelra noticed the human names: Alex Carter, Emily Reed, Claire Mason, Noah Hill. These were not legends. These were real humans, real actions. Humans fight not for themselves alone, Lana said. They fight for others. That is why they survive. They fight for their values, their families, their friends. They fight because giving up is not an option. This is different from most species you study. Most fight for power or conquest. Humans fight for life itself. Kelra felt her mind spinning. She had learned about bravery before, but this was different. These humans were clever, persistent, and willing to risk everything for others. She could feel respect growing in her chest. She wanted to learn more. She wanted to understand fully. The lesson moved to strategies used by humans when outnumbered. They used ambushes, traps, and clever planning. Sometimes they faked retreats to lure the enemy into danger. Sometimes they used the terrain to their advantage, hiding in forests, deserts, or ruins. Humans learned from each battle. If a plan failed, they tried something new next time. They never stopped thinking, never stopped adapting. Lana paused the recording on one human, Lucas Gray. He was wounded, surrounded, and facing death. Yet he used the debris around him to create cover and defend his group. His actions saved several lives. Kelra's eyes filled with awe. She whispered quietly to herself, "They are amazing." Vorin clenched his fists. He could not understand why these weak-looking humans could survive such dangers. He had always believed that strength was physical. Now he realized that courage, intelligence, and teamwork mattered more. Humans had all of these in ways that were difficult to measure. Lana then introduced a new concept: human improvisation. Humans often faced situations that no one could predict. They would make new tools, use unexpected weapons, and find creative solutions. Kelra was fascinated. She had studied many species, but humans used creativity in life-and-death situations in ways she had never seen. Improvisation is key to their survival, Lana said. Humans think differently. They find solutions when none seem possible. That is why they survive battles that destroy others. The aliens were silent. Even Vorin had no words. Kelra felt a mixture of fear, respect, and curiosity. She wanted to study humans more closely. She wanted to understand how they survived where so many others failed. Lana concluded the lesson with a quiet reminder. Humans are not perfect. They make mistakes. They die. They lose battles, but they keep going. They survive because they refuse to give up. Remember this. If you ever meet a human, never underestimate them. They may be small, but they are dangerous in ways you cannot fully predict. The hologram faded. The classroom was quiet. The aliens sat silently, thinking. Kelra stayed for a moment, staring at the empty space where the humans had appeared. She could feel a deep respect for these small, clever, stubborn creatures. She knew that this lesson would stay with her. Vorin left the classroom without a word. He did not want to admit it, but he was shaken. Humans were not what he expected. They were not weak. They were unpredictable, and they were dangerous to underestimate. Kelra walked slowly out, thinking about Claire Mason, Lucas Gray, Emily Reed, and Noah Hill. She wanted to learn more. She wanted to know everything about humans. She wondered how they survived so many impossible battles. She wondered what made them so stubborn, so clever, so courageous. Lana watched her students leave. She knew the lesson had been effective. The aliens were beginning to understand. Silence was a sign of respect. Silence meant they were thinking, processing, and realizing that humans were unlike any species they had studied. As Kelra left the classroom, the stars shone brightly outside. Far away, on Earth, humans lived their normal lives, unaware of the small group of alien students learning about their courage. Kelra felt a small excitement inside. She wanted to continue studying humans, to understand why they survived when so many others failed. Today, she had learned that humans were clever, persistent, and brave. Tomorrow, she would learn even more. The classroom was quiet as Kelra entered. She noticed that more alien students had returned today. Some had come out of curiosity, others out of caution. Even Vorin had come back, though he did not speak to anyone. Lana Brooks stood at the front, arranging a new set of holographic records. She smiled at the students, knowing that today's lesson would be different. "Welcome," Lana said softly. "Today we will study human combat in extreme situations. You have already seen how humans survive against stronger enemies and adapt with clever tactics. Today, you will see how they respond under pressure, when everything seems lost." The hologram lit up, showing a battlefield at night. Explosions tore through the air. Fires burned in ruins of buildings. Human soldiers moved carefully, despite the danger. Kelra could see that the humans were exhausted, injured, and outnumbered. Yet they continued to move forward. Lana pointed to a small group of humans taking cover behind rubble. "Notice how they communicate," she said. "They use small signals, gestures, and quiet words. They do not panic, even when surrounded. They think clearly and act quickly." Vorin shifted uncomfortably. He had expected chaos, screaming, and humans giving up. Instead, he saw order, focus, and determination. He could not hide the unease growing inside him. Lana continued. She showed humans like Claire Mason and Alex Carter navigating a city under attack. They saved wounded civilians while avoiding enemy patrols. They had little protection, and yet they moved carefully, thinking of others first. Kelra's tail twitched. She was impressed. Humans were not just surviving, they were protecting others while facing death. "Humans fight for more than themselves," Lana said. "They fight for their comrades, for civilians, for life itself. This is why they can endure situations that would break other species. They have a will to survive and a will to protect that is unmatched." The lesson moved to human improvisation in battle. Soldiers used anything they could find, pipes, stones, vehicles, even debris, to defend themselves or attack enemies. Kelra noticed how each action was carefully calculated. Humans did not rely on strength or advanced technology alone. They relied on cleverness, creativity, and quick thinking. Lana paused the recording on a human soldier named Emily Reed. She was using pieces of metal to create a barricade while signaling to her teammates to flank the enemy. Kelra's eyes widened. This small human, weak in size, was acting like a general, making decisions that affected the lives of many. Vorin clenched his fists. He wanted to dismiss it, to say humans were lucky, but he could not. Every example showed courage, intelligence, and persistence. Humans were not to be underestimated. Lana then showed the humans dealing with fear and loss. Many had seen their friends die, yet they continued fighting. They managed their fear, staying focused on survival and protecting others. Kelra felt a strange respect. These creatures faced terror every day and kept moving forward. Humans do not stop because of fear, Lana said. They feel fear, but they control it. They survive because they think clearly, even when everything seems hopeless. This is what makes them so dangerous to underestimate. The lesson moved to communication and teamwork. Humans used short, simple signals to coordinate attacks. They shared resources, medical supplies, and even food. They made decisions together when possible. Kelra noticed that no human acted selfishly. Each action was for the group. Even when some were wounded or dying, they helped each other. Lana pointed to a soldier named Lucas Gray. He carried a wounded comrade through a burning building while under attack. Kelra felt her chest tighten. She had seen many species, but she had never seen this level of determination and care. Humans risked their lives for others. That was something rare in the galaxy. Vorin finally spoke quietly. Why do they do this? They are weak. Why risk everything? Lana looked at him. Because they value life, because they have courage, because they refuse to give up. Humans survive because they fight with heart, mind, and determination. They are not the strongest, but they endure when others fail. Kelra felt her mind racing. She had learned about humans before, but now she understood them better. They were clever, brave, and persistent. They adapted quickly, helped others, and survived impossible situations. This was not luck, it was determination. Lana then showed a recorded mission from a human conflict against another species. Humans were outnumbered 10-1. They had no advanced weapons. Yet they used traps, terrain, and coordination to survive. Some humans died, but the majority survived. Kelra noticed that every human used their brain before their strength. They were small, but they thought faster, planned better, and acted smarter than their enemies. The classroom grew quieter. The alien students whispered among themselves, but only softly. Many were shocked. They had never seen a species survive like this. They had studied hundreds of species at the academy, but humans were different, unpredictable, clever, stubborn, and dangerous. Lana continued with examples of human endurance. Soldiers carried wounded comrades, ran through dangerous zones, and repaired equipment under fire. They worked without rest, without complaint, and without giving up. Kelra's respect grew with each story. She wanted to know how humans could keep fighting when everything seemed lost. The lesson moved to extreme decisions. Humans sometimes sacrificed their safety to save others. One human soldier, Claire Mason, ran into a dangerous zone to rescue civilians trapped in a burning building. She was wounded, but she succeeded. Kelra felt a shiver of awe. Humans risked death for life. This was something most alien species did not do. They fought for power or survival, but rarely for others. Humans did it instinctively. Vorin was silent. He had never felt like this before. Humans were supposed to be weak, but they were brave, clever, and unpredictable. He felt a small fear. Humans were dangerous not because of strength, but because of determination, intelligence, and persistence. Lana concluded the lesson with a quiet reminder. Humans survive when others fail. They think, adapt, and endure. They fight for each other, for their values, and for life itself. Remember this when you study them or face them in the future. Humans are small, but they are not weak. Never underestimate them. The hologram faded. The classroom was quiet. The alien students sat in silence, thinking about what they had learned. Kelra stared at the empty space where humans had appeared. She could feel respect growing inside her. She wanted to continue learning. She wanted to understand fully. She wanted to know how humans survived when so many others failed. Vorin left quietly. He could not speak. He was shaken by what he had seen. Humans were unpredictable, clever, and persistent. He could not dismiss them as weak. They were dangerous in ways he had never imagined. Kelra walked slowly to the door. She thought about Claire Mason, Lucas Gray, Emily Reed, and Noah Hill. She wondered how humans could keep fighting under such pressure. She wondered what gave them courage, intelligence, and stubbornness. She wanted to see more, learn more, understand more. Lana watched her students leave. She knew the lesson was working. Silence meant they were thinking. They were processing the information. They were beginning to understand that humans were not just another species. They were something different, something remarkable. As Kelra left the classroom, the stars shone outside. The academy was quiet. Far away, humans lived their normal lives on Earth, unaware of the small group of aliens learning about their courage. Kelra felt a spark of excitement. She wanted to continue learning about humans, to understand why they survived, to see what made them so clever and brave. Today, she had learned about human courage, teamwork, and endurance under pressure. Tomorrow, she would learn even more. She was ready. She wanted to see the humans' greatest tests and understand why they were so dangerous to underestimate. The first shock was over, but the real lesson was only beginning. Kelra and the other aliens were beginning to understand why humans had survived for so long against impossible odds. The classroom was quiet when Kelra arrived. Today, almost all the alien students were back. Even those who had laughed at humans before now looked serious. Some had come because they were curious. Others had come because they could not ignore what they had seen before. Even Voron was there, sitting quietly in the back. His arms were crossed, but he did not speak. His usual confidence seemed smaller somehow. Lana Brooks walked in carrying a new stack of holoscreens. She smiled at the students. "Welcome back," she said softly. "Today, we will see the humans in situations that you might find shocking. You have seen their courage, their cleverness, and their endurance. Today, you will see how they survive against impossible odds and why they are respected, even feared in some parts of the galaxy." The hologram activated, showing a battlefield that had been destroyed by war. Buildings were broken, fires burned everywhere. Humans moved through the chaos, carrying wounded comrades, guiding civilians to safety and avoiding enemy patrols. Kelra's eyes widened. She could feel her heart racing. These humans were small, yet they acted with skill and determination. Lana pointed to a group of soldiers. "Look at them," she said. "They are outnumbered 10-1. Their weapons are weaker than the enemy's. Yet they move carefully, use the terrain, and protect each other. Every decision matters. Watch closely." Kelra leaned forward, fascinated. She saw humans like Noah Hill signaling to others while carrying a wounded friend. Claire Mason was guiding civilians through rubble, while Emily Reed repaired a broken vehicle to block an enemy attack. Every human acted with courage and intelligence, even though danger was all around them. Voron shifted uncomfortably. He had thought he understood humans, but now he felt something new. Fear. Humans were supposed to be weak, but they were clever, brave, and unpredictable. He did not like that. He wanted to dismiss it, but he could not. The holograms showed the truth too clearly. Lana continued. She showed how humans adapted to new dangers. One group was trapped in a canyon with enemy forces above. The humans had no heavy weapons, but they used rocks, ropes, and their environment to create traps. They defended themselves carefully, never panicking. Kelra noticed that even when humans were injured or exhausted, they continued to plan and act. "Humans survive because they think," Lana said. "They adapt, they improvise, they protect each other, they endure when others fail. Notice how calm they are under pressure, how quickly they make decisions, and how they never give up." The aliens were quiet. Kelra's tail twitched as she watched. She could feel respect growing inside her. She wanted to understand everything about humans. They were not just surviving, they were protecting others, thinking faster than their enemies, and refusing to quit even when all seemed lost. Lana moved to another example. Humans were defending a city against a larger enemy force. Many soldiers had died, yet the remaining humans refused to retreat. They built barricades, used traps, and coordinated their defense carefully. Kelra noticed that every human acted for the group, not for themselves. They risked death to save each other. "This is not recklessness," Lana said. "It is courage guided by intelligence and care." Humans survive because they refuse to give up, because they protect others, and because they think creatively under pressure. Vorin shifted in his seat. He could not argue. The humans were clever, brave, and persistent. He felt a small fear he had never felt before. Humans were dangerous not because they were strong, but because they never stopped fighting and they never acted predictably. Lana continued with examples of extreme courage. Soldiers like Claire Mason ran into burning buildings to save civilians. Emily Reed carried injured comrades while under fire. Lucas Gray used debris and the environment to create defenses and traps, saving dozens of lives. Kelra felt her chest tighten. She could not believe the humans' determination. They risked death for others, and they never gave up. The lesson moved to improvisation. Humans faced situations no one could predict. They made new tools from broken weapons, used the terrain in unexpected ways, and found creative solutions. Kelra noticed that even small humans could lead large groups effectively. They were clever, resourceful, and brave. Lana paused the recording on a soldier named Daniel West. He was facing a heavily armed enemy alone, with his squad injured or dead. He created a trap that stopped the enemy long enough for civilians to escape. Kelra could not believe her eyes. A single human had outsmarted many enemies, using only what he had at hand. The alien students whispered among themselves, but only quietly. Even Vorin was silent. They had never seen a species survive like this. Humans were clever, brave, and persistent. They adapted quickly, helped each other, and survived impossible situations. This was not luck. It was determination, courage, and intelligence. Lana then showed the humans dealing with fear and loss. Many had seen friends die, yet they continued fighting. They managed fear, stayed focused, and acted for the group. Kelra felt a deep respect. These creatures faced terror every day and kept moving forward. "Humans do not stop because of fear," Lana said. "They feel fear, but they control it. They survive because they think clearly, even when everything seems hopeless. This is what makes them so dangerous to underestimate." The lesson moved to communication and teamwork. Humans used short, clear signals to coordinate. They shared resources, medical supplies, and food. They made decisions together. Kelra noticed that no human acted selfishly. Every action was for the group. Even when some were wounded or dying, they helped each other. Lana pointed to Lucas Gray carrying a wounded comrade. Kelra felt awe. She had studied many species, but she had never seen this level of determination and care. Humans risked their lives for others. This was rare in the galaxy. Vorin whispered quietly, almost to himself. "Why do they do this? They are weak. Why risk everything?" Lana looked at him. "Because they value life, because they have courage, because they refuse to give up. Humans survive because they fight with heart, mind, and determination. They are not the strongest, but they endure when others fail." Kelra felt her mind spinning. She had learned about humans before, but now she understood them better. They were clever, brave, and persistent. They adapted quickly, helped each other, and survived impossible situations. Lana then showed a recorded mission against a more powerful enemy. Humans were outnumbered, outgunned, and trapped. Some died, but most survived. Kelra noticed that every human used their brain before their strength. They were small, but they thought faster, planned better, and acted smarter than their enemies. The classroom grew quieter. The alien students whispered softly, shocked. They had never seen a species survive like this. Humans were different, unpredictable, clever, stubborn, and dangerous. Lana continued with stories of human endurance. Soldiers carried wounded comrades, repaired equipment under fire, and worked without rest. They protected each other while fighting. Kelra's respect grew with each story. She wanted to know how humans kept fighting when everything seemed lost. The lesson moved to extreme sacrifice. Humans sometimes risk their lives to save others. Claire Mason ran into a dangerous zone to rescue civilians. She was wounded but succeeded. Kelra felt awe. Humans risked death for life. Most alien species fought for power or survival, but humans did it instinctively. Voron stayed silent. Humans were supposed to be weak. Now he realized they were clever, brave, and unpredictable. He felt fear. Humans were dangerous not because of strength, but because of intelligence, courage, and persistence. Lana concluded quietly, humans survive when others fail. They think, adapt, endure, and protect each other. They fight for life itself. Remember this when you meet them. Humans are small, but they are not weak. Never underestimate them. The hologram faded. The classroom was silent. Kelra sat still, staring at the empty space. She felt respect, awe, and a desire to learn more. Humans were not just surviving, they were protecting, thinking, and refusing to quit. She wanted to know everything. Voron left quietly. He could not speak. Humans were unpredictable, clever, and persistent. He could not dismiss them as weak. They were dangerous in ways he had never imagined. Kelra walked slowly to the door, thinking about Claire Mason, Lucas Gray, Emily Reed, and Noah Hill. She wondered how humans kept fighting under pressure. She wanted to see more, learn more, and understand more. Lana watched her students leave. She knew the lesson was working. Silence meant they were thinking. They were processing and realizing humans were remarkable. As Kelra left, the stars shone outside. Far away, humans lived their normal lives on Earth, unaware of the aliens studying them. Kelra felt a spark of excitement. She wanted to continue learning about humans, to understand why they survived, and to see what made them so clever and brave. Today, the aliens had reached the breaking point. They understood that humans were not weak. They were clever, brave, and dangerous to underestimate. Tomorrow, they would see why humans could survive battles that destroyed other species. Kelra arrived at the classroom earlier than usual. She felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. After the last lesson, she could not stop thinking about humans. She wanted to see more, to understand more, to learn everything. Today was the final lesson in this module. Lana Brooks was already there, setting up the holoscreens. The room was quiet but tense. Even Voron was present, sitting stiffly in the back, avoiding eye contact with anyone. "Welcome," Lana said softly. "Today we will study humans in their greatest trials. You have seen their courage, cleverness, teamwork, and endurance. Today you will see why humans are called survivors and why no one should underestimate them." The hologram activated. It showed a battlefield unlike any the aliens had seen before. The humans were surrounded, outnumbered by enemies on all sides. Explosions tore the air apart, fires burned everywhere, and debris flew through the sky. Kelra's heart beat fast. She could feel the danger, even through the recording. Lana pointed to a small group of humans at the center. "Look at them closely. They are outnumbered, weak in weapons, and injured. Yet they move with purpose. Every step, every action matters. Watch how they protect each other and civilians." Kelra watched as humans like Claire Mason and Lucas Gray moved through the chaos. They carried wounded comrades, shielded civilians, and used the environment to create barriers. Even Emily Reed, small and seemingly fragile, took command of a group, guiding them through danger with clever decisions. Kelra's tail twitched. She could not believe what she was seeing. Humans were small, weak, and injured, yet they acted like generals and heroes all at once. Voron clenched his fists, but he could not hide the unease growing inside him. Humans were supposed to be weak. Now he realized they were clever, brave, and impossible to predict. They were dangerous not because of strength, but because of determination, intelligence, and teamwork. Lana continued. She showed humans improvising in real time. One group was trapped under rubble with enemies above. They had no weapons, but they used debris, fire, and small tools to defend themselves and create an escape route. Some humans were injured, yet they acted quickly and decisively. Kelra felt awe. Humans survived because they thought, adapted, and refused to give up. Humans survive because they fight for life, not power, Lana said. They protect others, think quickly, and endure what would destroy others. That is why they survive when other species fail. The aliens were silent. Kelra's mind raced. She thought about Noah Hill carrying wounded comrades, Claire Mason saving civilians, Lucas Gray outsmarting enemies, and Emily Reed leading her group. Humans were clever, brave, persistent, and selfless. These were qualities most alien species did not have, or did not show under extreme danger. Lana moved to extreme examples of human endurance. Humans held positions with little rest, repaired broken equipment under fire, and carried supplies across dangerous zones. Even small humans acted decisively to save many lives. Kelra noticed the determination in their eyes. Humans never gave up. They never panicked. They never acted selfishly. Vorin shifted uncomfortably. He wanted to scoff, to dismiss humans as weak, but he could not. He was shocked, even afraid. Humans were unpredictable, clever, and brave. They were dangerous not because of weapons or size, but because they refused to fail. Lana then showed humans facing losses. Some friends had died, yet the rest continued fighting. They managed fear, stayed calm, and made decisions to survive and protect others. Kelra felt a deep respect. Humans faced terror every day, yet they kept moving forward. They were not reckless. They were courageous, thoughtful, and persistent. The lesson moved to communication and teamwork. Humans used simple signals, hand gestures, and quick words to coordinate attacks, protect each other, and share resources. Kelra noticed that no human acted selfishly. Every action was for the group. Even when some were injured or dying, others helped them. This was unusual in the galaxy. Most species fought for power or survival, not for others. Lana pointed to a soldier named Daniel West carrying a wounded friend through a field of fire. Kelra felt awe. Humans risked death for others. They were clever, brave, and selfless. Even the smallest humans could lead effectively, make decisions under pressure, and save lives. Vorin whispered to himself, almost in shock, "Why do they do this? They are weak. Why risk everything?" Lana looked at him calmly. Because they value life, because they have courage, because they refuse to give up. Humans survive because they fight with mind, heart, and determination. They are not the strongest, but they endure when others fail. Kelra felt her mind racing. She had studied humans for weeks, but now she understood fully. They were clever, brave, persistent, adaptive, and selfless. They helped each other, thought faster than their enemies, and refused to quit. This was not luck, it was determination and courage combined. Lana then showed a battle that should have been impossible to survive. Humans were surrounded on three sides, heavily outnumbered and injured. Explosions shook the ground. Humans improvised traps, created barriers, carried wounded comrades, and led civilians to safety. Some humans died, but the majority survived. Kelra noticed that every human thought carefully before acting. They were small, yet their minds were sharper than their enemies. The classroom was completely silent. Even Vorin had no words. The aliens had never seen a species survive like this. Humans were clever, brave, and persistent. They adapted quickly, helped each other, and survived impossible situations. Kelra felt a deep respect. She wanted to learn more. She wanted to understand why humans survived when so many others failed. Lana continued with extreme endurance examples. Soldiers carried supplies, repaired broken vehicles under fire, and worked without rest. They protected each other while fighting. Kelra noticed that humans acted with intelligence and courage even when exhausted. They never gave up. The lesson moved to sacrifices. Humans sometimes risked everything to save others. Claire Mason ran into a burning building to rescue civilians. She was injured but succeeded. Kelra felt awe. Humans risked death for life. Most alien species fought for power or survival. Humans fought instinctively for others. Voron stayed silent. He had expected humans to be weak. Now he realized they were clever, brave, and unpredictable. Humans were dangerous not because of strength, but because of courage, intelligence, and persistence. Lana concluded softly, humans survive when others fail. They think, adapt, endure, and protect each other. They fight for life itself. Remember this. Humans are small, but they are not weak. Never underestimate them. The hologram faded. The classroom was silent. Kelra sat quietly, staring at the empty space where humans had appeared. She felt respect, awe, and a desire to learn more. Humans were not just surviving, they were protecting, thinking, and refusing to quit. She wanted to know everything. Voron left quietly. He could not speak. Humans were clever, brave, and persistent. He could not dismiss them as weak. They were dangerous in ways he had never imagined. Kelra walked slowly to the door. She thought about Claire Mason, Lucas Gray, Emily Reed, and Noah Hill. She wondered how humans kept fighting under pressure. She wanted to see more, learn more, and understand more. Lana watched her students leave. She knew the lesson was successful. Silence meant respect. They were thinking, processing, and realizing humans were remarkable. Outside, the stars shone over the academy. Far away, humans lived their normal lives on Earth, unaware of the aliens studying them. Kelra felt excitement. She wanted to continue learning about humans, to understand why they survived, and to see what made them so clever and brave. Today, the aliens had learned the truth. Humans were not weak. They were clever, brave, and dangerous to underestimate. Respect had replaced fear. They understood why humans had survived for so long against impossible odds. Lana smiled quietly. She knew the silence meant the lesson was complete. The alien students would never see humans the same way again. They would remember this lesson for the rest of their lives. Kelra looked up at the sky, thinking of the humans who had inspired her respect. She knew this was only the beginning. Humans were not just survivors. They were examples of courage, intelligence, and persistence. She would carry that lesson with her forever. The academy was quiet. The students had changed. The humans they studied had changed the way they thought. Respect had replaced fear, and awe had taken root in their minds. Kelra and a few others left the academy, their minds filled with images of humans surviving impossible situations, protecting others, and refusing to give up. They had learned the truth. Humans were not the strongest, but they were the most dangerous to underestimate. And far away, humans continued to live, fight, and survive, unaware of the small group of alien students who now knew their true power.